Hi everyone, it's Tish with Soulspirational Wellness Studio. I'm going to spend a few minutes in this video talking about spirit communication. So for those of you who know me, I offer classes in my studio, and more recently because of COVID, I'm online. There's a platform called learnitlive.com. So if you're interested, you can find my classes there. So my classes revolve around all things spiritual and healing. So I offer classes like Reiki, chakra analysis, and clearing, cleansing, those kinds of things, as well as deeper healing classes. We do different meditations to get us closer to that divine light within us, which brings us closer to God or source, however you perceive it. And each of these, to me, is a way of bringing us inward, and it's also bringing us to our own empowerment. So in the scheme of psychic development, so I offer different classes within that heading. So usually my Claire's class is something that I offer to those that are just getting their feet wet or want to get a broader perspective of psychic development, where we start opening up to the different clairs. So whether it's clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, etc. Regardless of the class, when we are doing something that involves spirit communication, so maybe it is a meditation taking us to different realms, for example, or I also have what I call a spirit circle, where we visit different locations where there has been a lot of trauma. So we've gone to Jonestown and we have visited the Titanic. For any souls that may still be lingering behind, sometimes souls want to come forward to share what their experiences were, even though they've since gone to the light. So often when somebody is starting with spirit communication, the ego likes to jump up, or the internal dialogue may jump in, and it'll make us question ourselves, of who do you think you are that you can do this, or you're just making this up, it's just your imagination. It takes a while, I think, to start to trust oneself when we are communicating with spirit. And that's why I wanted to put this video on. So if you believe that we are human and we are spiritual beings, and if you believe that the spirit never dies, that the spirit just always is, it's the human body that is finite, well, then I would argue that spirit communication, whether you see that as spirit to spirit or soul to soul, that is something innate within each and every one of us. It's the human language that we've had to learn, whether that is English or French or German, whatever the particular language of your region is. So we learn the human language once we're born into the earth. But spirit communication, and if you believe that we've lived, multiple lifetimes, well, some of those lifetimes were probably in different regions. So when you were in human form, in one of the other countries, you were speaking that language. But the language of the spirit has always existed, being able to communicate spirit to spirit. So I am going to ask for you that as you start to open up to spirit communication, to really open up, to allow the space to be. Of course, I'm always going to, with the caveat, light energies only. I think it's always good when we're working with psychic development that we're connected above, we're grounded below, our energy is protected. You can see yourself surrounded in divine white light. I also like to call on the archangels to protect the space, but some form of, again, connecting and grounding and protection. And you'll find as you go forward, you'll find other ways to adjust, but especially when we're starting out, make sure that you really have that as a foundation. That being said, we are calling on when we are working within the spirit realm, we are specifically, consciously, intentionally calling upon spirits to communicate with us. As a little side note here, I've been, over the past, I don't know, maybe 9 months or so, have been teaching a telepathy class. And what I have found is that the mental telepathy, so when we're trying to bring something within the brain, an image that we are conjuring up within the mind, and we are sending that to somebody else, that tends to be more difficult than when we are in the space of spirit to spirit or soul to soul communication, spiritual communication. So when we practice telepathy, we'll practice both now, the mental and the spiritual telepathy. So it's like your however many people are in the class. We've been doing this as of late online, again, because of COVID. So the person who is sending, maybe it's an image, they may be holding it in their mind, but seeing themselves in spirit and the other people within the group that they are transmitting that image to. One will do it through the mind, like we're sending it to the other people for the mental, but for the spiritual, we're seeing the individual class members as their spiritual selves. And then to me, the way that I perceive it when we're in class, because I participated as well, so I see each of the participants, again, as their spiritual selves. And it's kind of like I'm hanging out in a room with them, and I am showing them the image that I'm trying to get across to them. So we are communicating in a space instead of trying to just send that image telepathically to somebody through the mind. I'm doing it instead spiritually, soulfully. And when we're sending things soulfully, again, spirits don't have physical bodies, even though we may see them in their physical form. Even when we're doing mediumship and we're connecting with somebody's past loved ones, they will project themselves to us in the form in which the person who came in, their loved one, would remember them. So that way we can have the validation that we're working with the right past loved one. So, so when we're seeing somebody, a spirit, even in their human form, and we're communicating, I never see their mouths move because they no longer have a physical body. It is still a spiritual communication. So I am going to ask for you just to open yourself up when you are wanting to connect with the spirit world, with a past loved one, maybe with one of your angels or your guides. Allow yourself to open the space and see yourself communicating with them, not from your human form, but from your spiritual form. And allow yourself to just open up and communicate with them. And, when we can get into our own way when we're trying to communicate, because again, we may start thinking, I'm just making this up. This is all in my imagination. And I am just going to put this out there that there's a reason why you're making this up. There's a reason why you are imagining what it is that you are imagining. So my suggestion is to have pen and paper handy. When, it's also nice to do at least some light meditation before you begin. It's a way to help to quiet and still the body and the mind. And then you can go within, tap into your soul, into your spirit, and set the intention that you want to communicate with your guides and your angels. And I'm doing this because mine are behind me. And that you're communicating with that spiritual telepathy. Whatever visions come to mind, whatever you hear, whatever you feel, because some people will They'll be so focused on trying to see something, or they'll be so focused on trying to hear something that they're missing out on the bodily sensations. So a spirit may be coming through to nudge us about something, to give us signal somewhere within the body. So pay attention to the bodily sensations as well. But again, as you're opening up, if we are so focused and direct, we may actually be blocking ourselves from what it is that they're trying to present to us. So allow yourself to, again, be open and relax with it. Some people are so busy trying to see that they're literally just seeing the blackness of the backsides of their eyelids. Now, there are sometimes I see better with my eyes open. Sometimes I see better with my eyes closed, as far as with the third eye and the visions, the internal visions. So we aren't looking at the back of the eyelids when the eyes are closed. We're still calling upon the third eye to see what visions are coming to mind. So write those down. If you have questions of your guides or angels, ask them. What are you hearing? What visions are coming to mind? What is your body doing? Take note of what it is that you're getting. And then it may take a while before you get validation. You may get validation immediately because it depends on what you're asking, those kinds of things. And yeah, some could say, we're not really communicating with the guides and the angels. We're communicating with the higher self. It may be. But you're still going inward for that information. And you may very well actually be communicating with your guides and angels. And for example, if you see a vision of an angel in your mind's eye, you can feel in a little deeper, what qualities, can you pick out any colors? What are you seeing or feeling when you get this image of this angel in front of you? If it is a guide, if you feel as though it is an angelic, what is this guide? Is it, maybe it's a piece of our past life, an area in which we lived in a past lifetime, that it's time to bring the energy that the experiences that we gained in a past life, to bring them forward to today. One recently, maybe we were a captain of a ship in the 1600s. It may be that now you're seeing the captain of the ship because it's time to steer the boat. So maybe things have been a little chaotic for you lately, but then you see that captain. Maybe the captain, again, is trying to tell you to put your hands back on the wheel and to start taking more control in life. So that's one example. I really don't want to give any more because I don't want to bias people and have you pick up on different imagery. I want you to, if you try this for yourself, to gain authentic experiences. So yeah, just open up and see, because if you are seeing a spiritual being and you know that it isn't you, again, that could be what is showing you that, in fact, this isn't a conversation with just your higher self. You are communicating with one of your guides, with one of the angels. It may be an archangel that's coming through for you. So just be open to receive, trust yourself. Again, spirit communication is innate. It is here within each and every one of us as spiritual beings. I could argue that that should actually be easier for us than human communication. Because there's so many different languages on earth, but in spirit, we can communicate regardless of the language. And really what's coming to mind is like the language of love. We don't have to speak to smile and to feel the warmth from another person. So anyway, this is just to try and, share a little advice here for those who are going into spirit communication, psychic development, how we can do that and start to trust ourselves a little more. And the great thing is too that the more that we trust ourselves, when we're working in this kind of environment, you may find that it reverberates back to your daily life. You know, somebody who maybe every time that they want to do something, they're reaching out to their friends or their family members asking, should I do this? What should I do? You may find that more and more those answers you already know, and you may not feel the need or the want to reach out to others. You just know what to do because you start trusting yourself more. So, all right, if you have any questions, please let me know. The information is on the screen. Otherwise, till next time, thank you, be well, and namaste.